y'all today. If I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, my name is Tisha. I'm the student pastor here at the Frisco East campus. If you're watching online, thanks for joining us. Okay, before I launch into the message, which I'm so excited about tonight, I think it's going to be awesome. And I've been praying about it for I would say all week, but really like Monday, Tuesday, today, just that God would really speak tonight. Because I really think that the message is really important for everybody to hear. But before we do that, I have a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. This is kind of like, I don't know if it's housekeeping, because it's not really housekeeping, but a couple of things. One, we would really like to launch like some sort of like home group or something like that outside of Wednesday night. We have Student Region, and if you're toying or thinking about going to Student Region, you should totally do that. It's an incredible place. It's an awesome program, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I think everybody should do it. I'm not. And so if you haven't signed up for that, or maybe you've gone through it before, I actually have seen some names on there of students who've gone through it before, and they're doing it again, which I think is incredible. And I think everyone should do that. So saying that, there's my plug for that. Number two, we really want to do some home groups. And we did last semester, I don't know if y'all remembered this. I know some of you came a lot. Some of you were so frequent. We did a morning one, a Tuesday morning one before school where we did breakfast and Devo. And it was really cool. And we want to do that again. But we thought we're missing some people because of practice or whatever you guys have early in the morning, sleeping, whatever it might be. And so we thought we would try to maybe do something in the evening, but we really need your help because we don't know the best time, we don't know the best place, we don't know all the things. And so there's a QR code that's going to be on the screen right now. I'd love for everybody to pull out your phone. This is literally, it's anonymous. It is literally a 1-minute little form for you to fill out right now. And if you don't have a phone, maybe the friend that you're with, let them fill it out and then scan it again and you fill it out. So it's literally a 1-minute quick, it's mostly just multiple choice. You just go right down the line and choose something, click something. If you could fill it out really quick. Is it working for everybody? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. I can't even remember how many questions. It's maybe 7. I don't know. But it's really fast. So. It's not letting you scan? I think some of y'all got it? Okay, it might be your phone. Sorry, dude, might be your phone. Point it at the screen. Just kidding. You might just have to skip it. You might just have to skip it. As many people as can, fill it out. But if you can't get it, you might just have to skip it. Sorry. Sorry. All right. Bless you. Whoever just sneezed, bless you. Sorry if you're watching online. You can totally fill out the QR code too. Love to hear your input. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to be super distracting while you're filling it out because I just want it to be quick for y'all. I feel like it's longer than I thought it was going to be. You guys thinking really hard about your answers? That's probably what you're doing, huh? It's not a test. No test. You're not going to get graded on it. We really just want your info, what would work best for you if we did something. All right. I'm going to let you finish filling that out, but I'm going to move on to the next thing. I have one more thing that I want to tell you about. And I think you heard about it during hosting with William and Ayush. But we do a thing here on the weekends, and I don't know if you know about this, called middle school groups. Essentially, it's their home group outside of Wednesday night. And so we do it on the Saturday service, and we do it Saturday at 5 and then Sunday at 11:15. And I'll tell you, if you are looking for an opportunity to serve at Hope, and you don't want to necessarily work with little bitty kids or whatever, and you're like, man, I'd like to lead a group. Because I've had people come to me and say, I want to lead a group. And we often, a few years ago, we would have high schoolers that would lead middle school on Wednesday night, but then it just got to the point where we couldn't do that anymore. But if you're interested in doing that, I'd love for you to talk to me about it, or William, or Ayush, or whoever, not whoever, one of the three of us, probably. Not whoever. Don't just tell your neighbor. Come tell me. But we're looking for people who would be interested in coming and serving, and I know some of you do. Shane, he's been so faithful in serving in middle school groups, and Owen just started, which I love. He's been there for a couple weeks, and I'm sure there's other people that I'm missing. It might just be those two high schoolers, but if you're interested in doing that, I'd love to talk to you more about it. Okay, everyone done with the survey for the most part? Okay. I'm gonna move on. Okay, if it's your first time, I know this is like, what is she doing up there? This is crazy. It's just a few little things we're handling, and now we're gonna get down to business, all right? So for the next 2 weeks, we're starting a conversation around the phrase, I am blank. Like, I am fill in the blank. There are a lot of questions in life that are gonna be really hard for you to answer. You have probably noticed that already, and it doesn't end. Let me just tell you, not to be a Debbie Downer, but there are going to be questions in your life that are going to be very difficult for you to answer, and some of them you may not know the answer to. But let me tell you, the age-old question of who am I has been a question for a really long time. And as your youth pastor and someone, a caring adult in your life who wants the very best for you, I want you to find the answer to that question. And honestly, any caring adult in your life, a parent, a small group leader, a boss, an aunt, an uncle, whatever, grandparent, I could keep going, but it seems, useless to keep going. All of the caring adults, they really want you to know the answer to that question too. And I'll tell you that it is a question that I have struggled with for years. I did struggle with for years, probably until I was in my mid-20s, always wishing and hoping that who I was actually different than who I am. Even now, there are times when I'm like, man, that Pastor Elijah from McKinney, he's the best. He's awesome. He's funny. People like being around him all the time. And then I discount the gifts that God has given me. And it's kind of like God has to come in and kind of slap me across the face a little bit. He doesn't really do that. But just remind me that, hey, the gifts that he's given me and the ways that he made me and the way that I can describe myself based on who God is and who God made me to be, that is perfect. And I don't have to try to be something that I'm not. I don't have to try to strive to be the funniest person in the room, the coolest person in the room. I'm just not those things. Now, I'm amusing, I think, and I'm okay to be around, and I know that, and I'm okay with that. I don't have to walk in here and be the funniest in the room. If Pastor Elijah were here, he would be. It's just the bottom line. But I know that the struggle that I've had to figure out the question, who am I, has been real for me. And I know that there are probably people in this room who feel the very same way. Anybody in this room ever watch Pokemon growing up? Or maybe you play Pokemon Go now? Okay, we're going to play just a quick little game to see how if you can still remember some of these people. So let's put the first one on the screen. Anybody know who this is or what this is? Just scream it out if you know it. Evie, that's right. Okay, what about the next one? Is it Evie? Yes, I knew it was Evie. So I was like, yeah, it's Evie. Mostly because I play Pokemon, but I never actually watched the show. But I do play Pokemon Go. All right, what's the next one? Anybody know who this is? Yes, Pikachu. That's right, it's Pikachu. Is it Pikachu? Yes, okay. I'm like, it is. I know it is. All right, what about the next one? Who's that Pokemon? It is Mewtwo. Is it Mewtwo? Well, okay. Got you there. Oh my gosh, Levi. All right, Rickrolled. It was Mewtwo. You were absolutely right, those of you who said that. Listen, we could tell who those people were or who those characters were based on the silhouette of who it is, right? But if you had never seen them before, if you didn't know who they were or you hadn't seen it before, you would like your imagination would use whatever means our imagination uses to kind of fill in the blanks, right? To color in the parts that weren't colored. We saw the silhouette, but we didn't actually see who it was. But we knew who it was because of its silhouette. And I think that sometimes we see the silhouette of who we are, and we're trying desperately to color it in, to be certain things. And I think sometimes we forget to talk to the Creator to see what we're supposed to be. Let's pray tonight, and then I'm going to dive in. God, thank you for every single person in this room. I pray for this message tonight, the next 12-ish minutes that we are together. Lord, I pray that you would be in this room. I pray that students would see you, feel you, learn from your word, and that together, God, that we would continue to be closer to who you are and be closer to the person that you've called us to be. We love you. In your name, everybody said, amen. Who am I? Everybody say that. Who am I? It's a very important question, right? It's a question that we're trying to answer probably daily. Some of you probably would say, if like, hey, here's some words that describe me. For me, for instance, it would be like, I'm loud, I have blonde hair, I like having people over to my house, I'm a chit-chatter. I chit-chat, you know. I like walking into a party and like talking to everybody in the room, but to be honest, I'm probably not going to be the one that's having like the deep conversation in the room. That's more of like my husband. But that is a little bit of who I am. This is such a powerful question. I think we sometimes underestimate the power of this question because honestly, we are, as human beings, deeply affected by the answer of that question. How we see ourselves depends on that question. Our perception of who we are, our sense of identity. And honestly, if we want any sort of like good quality of life, like we need to know that answer. Who am I? I know that there are people that you probably know who they've had everything that they've needed: money, fame, power, anything. Like they've been able to travel, they have all the good things, and yet it wasn't enough, and they ended up taking their own life. Robin Williams is one of them. He's kind of older. I don't even know if y'all even know who Robin Williams is. Okay. Heath Ledger, who played the Joker in one of the Joker movies or Batman movies or whatever. Is he Batman? Yeah, Batman movies. Sorry. They had everything, but for some reason, they hadn't answered that question, who they were, and so everything they had was not enough. Everything they had could not keep them from, it kept them from actually having a great life because they didn't know who they were. We know that as Christ followers, if you're a Christ follower in this room, that living out a fulfilling relationship with God and looking to Him for our answer and the things that we need and the things that we want, honestly is the answer to that question. Who am I? Not like the real truth of that question, not my perception of who I am, but the truth of who I am. A lot of Christians, they try to figure this out, and I honestly think that I don't necessarily have the answer, but I know how to help you figure out who you are. Some Christians, they have what's called a life verse, a verse that they love, that they have memorized, and they try to live their life it's a verse that inspires them, and it's almost like a mission. And some of you in this room may not have that. Maybe one day you will. This is a verse that I wanted to share with you, and it's not necessarily a life verse, but what I love about it is it reminds us the Bible knows who we are, that God, the writer of the Bible, He knows exactly who we are. It's in Romans 7:15, and it says this: I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. Anybody ever been there before? I tried so hard to do this, but I couldn't do it, and I don't know why. And you said the thing that you said you weren't going to say, and you did the thing that you said you weren't going to do, or maybe you should have done this thing, and you didn't, and you walk away from it, and you think, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that? I don't understand why this is happening. And what's so cool is God knew that we would be caught in this struggle. And that's why this verse is in the Bible. He knew that we would be caught in that struggle where we would be like this, living out this tension of who I am or why I'm doing one thing and I should be doing another, or vice versa. He knew that. And he says, hey, guess what? I actually have the answer to your question, but sometimes we are so busy looking in all these different places, being the best, especially in this area. And I know that being a teenager in this area is really difficult. I've heard it from so many of you, having to be the best at whatever you do, having to be the best in band, theater, academically, sports, having to be the best. And the pressure that you feel from that is so heavy. And so many of you, if someone were to ask you who you were, you would maybe be defined by one of those things and maybe not the ultimate truth of who you are. Genesis 1:27 says this, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. Who names, when something gets invented, who names that invention? The person who invented it. That's right. The creator. Right here, Genesis 1:27, for God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. He created us. So he gets to say who we are, what we do, how we do it. Sometimes we get lost in that, though, because we're trying so hard to create our own identity, to be one thing or another, and we get caught up in doing that. I want you guys to listen to this, and I want you to take a picture of this next slide. I want you to write it down if you're taking notes, because I think it's so good, and I think it's going to answer it's going to answer the question that we have. You and I are not architects of our identity. We are archaeologists. An architect is someone who makes something, they design it, they invent it, they create it, so they get to say its function, how to use it, what it's for. An archaeologist is someone who goes searching for something. And honestly, what we should do and what we need to do is start searching, asking God and start searching and going to him and saying, God, who did you create me to be? And why did you create me to do that? That is how we find the ultimate answer to who am I. You and I should not be trying to create or build our own identity. Instead, we should be trying to discover who we were already created to be. We didn't make us. We didn't make each other. We didn't design anything. God created us and he made us. And honestly, he created us and he made us for something very specific. And I believe that about each and every person in this room. I believe that each and every person was created for a very specific reason, and our life goal should be trying to figure that out. And I think that there's kind of like, when you're running a marathon, I'm trying to think of an analogy, and this is the best I came up with. You're running a marathon, and maybe you run 100 meters, and you get to a certain spot, and you're like, I know this is who God created me to be, and you do it, and you kind of fulfill it, and you say, all right, God, what's next? And then you run to 200 meters, and you figure out like another thing or another purpose that God created you for, and then you keep going and you keep going, because God is going to continue to give you things and show you who he made you to be and who he created you to be, and we get to keep discovering that as Christians. If you're a Christ follower in this room, that is one of the beauties, I think, about following the Lord, is that we don't have to like conjure up anything and make anything happen. You and I just get to discover. That's what we get to do. God, who did you make me to be? Why did you make me to be it? What can I do to move closer to that in my life? We have been created, and now we get to find out what that means and what that looks like for us. We get to live this beautiful thing called life. And how much greater would it feel and how much better would it feel if we knew exactly why we were created and why we were on this earth. So, who am I? God says a few things about who you are. One is in John 1:12, he says, I am God's child. You are a child of God. John 15:15, I am Christ's friend. You are a friend of God. I am loved. John 3:16, for God so loved the world tells, literally, God so loved the world. He loved every single person in this room. Romans 3:24, I am redeemed. Romans 8:1-2, I am free. John 5:16, I am chosen. Ephesians 2:10, I love this verse. I am God's workmanship. I am his workmanship. The rest of that verse says, for we, you and I in this room, we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works. I love this, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Psalms 139 talks about how God literally knit you together in your mother's womb. And it pairs so well with this verse, Ephesians 2:10, that says, we were created through Jesus Christ for good works, which God prepared for us beforehand that we should walk in them. Back when you were being created in the womb in Psalms 139, where God talks about you were literally being put together, piece by piece, woven together, God knew what you were supposed to do and what your destiny is. And we get so caught up trying to mold and make and shape ourselves that sometimes we forget to turn to the one who created us and say, God, not me, not what I want, but what do you want? And honestly, the answer can come from God, and it can come from his word. I just read all these verses for you as a reminder of who God created you to be. His child, his friend, you're redeemed, you're loved, and we can live in freedom knowing that we don't necessarily have to figure out what our personality is, but as long as we know that we are loved by God and we're living in that freedom, that's where hope comes from. That's where identity comes from. So, as a teenager, this is what I struggled with more than anything that I can remember, is identity. Who I am, and then not being confident in who I thought I was, because I cared too much about all the things that don't really matter. Boy, if I could have lived in freedom and walked with my head held high, knowing that, man, I'm walking down this aisle and I know that I'm loved, I know that I'm redeemed, and so when I'm living my life, that's what I'm going to center on, is that I am a child of God, and that, man, when he puts something in front of me, I'm going to do it confidently because I am his. And not can I do this? Should I do this? What's going on? Not living in fear or anxiety, thinking overthinking it, which is the classic thing and what I've done my entire life. It took me until I was in my mid-20s to really grasp this, and I'll tell you, sometimes the enemy still uses this against me. Who are you? Who did God create you to be? Are you living in the fullness of what that is and who that is? God intentionally made you and created you for something. I believe that about every single person in this room. So, tonight, what I've been praying for you about is that you would leave this room tonight with excitement, trying to figure out who he created you to be. And honestly, the answer to that lies in that book right there. Opening this up, figuring out what he says about you, how he designed you, how he created you. Once you get that figured out, I'm telling you, everything else falls into place. It just does. Take it from someone who's lived the shoes that you're living in right now, full of fear, full of worry of what people were thinking, when ultimately my life, my eyes should have been focused on who Jesus was. So, everyone in this room to just grab your hand, make a fist, and kind of just put it over your heart, and then close your eyes. I want everyone to repeat this phrase after me. I am who he says I am. I am who he says I am. God, tonight I pray that every single student in this room that they would live at that freedom, live with that hope, that it's not about what we're trying to do all the time, but God, it's about who you created and designed us to be. And God, sometimes the distractions that we get, trying to be the best at this or that, or trying hard to look like our friend or be similar to our friend or that person across the room, or whatever we're trying that we're just striving at, and it's bringing us, honestly, more confusion than anything else, and it's making us feel less than and not valuable and upset and confused. God, I pray that this week, every student in this room would remember that phrase, I am who he says I am. And that they wouldn't just agree to that and say that, but Lord, that they would start digging into your word to see exactly who you say they are. God, I believe that once we start doing that, that the life we live can be full of freedom, can be full of hope. We love you, God. We trust you with our lives. In your name, amen. Amen. Okay, so maybe some of you are saying, all right, I am who God says I am. God made me. He gets to define who I am. But who actually is God, and why can I trust him? We're going to talk about that next week. I can't wait to do that with you. Thanks for showing up tonight online. Thanks for being with us. You're the best for hanging out with us.